Welcome to the podcast of the OCQ magazine, October 2024, issue number 42. In this issue we discuss, among other things, the Pantone fashion color trend report for spring/summer 2025. We fashion tips on business casual clothing for men. And in finance, we cover financial fitness for entrepreneurs, including how to read the balance sheet and apply for financing, and highlights the role of EBITDA in financial analysis. In addition, the magazine offers an introduction to the new enforcement rules around false self-employment and also explores the future of retail, with a focus on bridging the gap between online and offline shopping. This issue also features the announcement of the Great AI event with Vincent Everts and Maurice DeHond on October 31st, 2024. I wish you much fun and inspiration listening to the podcast, which covers many surprising facts that the OCQ magazine podcast hosts will discuss.
Okay, so we always talk about staying ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Well, think of this deep dive as our way of doing just that, especially if you're into the business side of things, with a little style mixed in.
I like it.
We're diving into the 42nd edition of Dutch OCQ magazine.
OCQ, nice.
Yeah, it's got that European flair, but honestly, a lot of the trends they highlight, especially when you're talking about fashion or even finance or tech, they really do have this global feel.
Oh, totally. It's like we're all connected, right?
Absolutely. So let's talk Pantone. You know how much I love talking about colors.
Always exciting.
OCQ actually gives us a sneak peek at the spring-summer 2025 color trends, straight from New York Fashion Week.
It's not just about, what's pretty. I mean, it is. But these trends usually reflect these bigger kind of cultural shifts. Like we're holding up a mirror or something.
Okay.
So, one color that really stood out was bran. It's this, warm, earthy brown.
I can see that.
And the magazine, it suggests that it reflects this, craving for authenticity we're all feeling, for genuine stuff, for natural stuff. Even though we live in this techie world.
I can totally see that. Websites with more natural textures, brands trying to embrace this handcrafted look, even our homes becoming these, cozy little retreats.
Yes, exactly. But then on the totally opposite end of the spectrum, you have crocus. It's this really vibrant, almost playful lilac.
Fun.
It just screams optimism, It's like we're injecting some lightheartedness back into our lives.
Which we could all use a bit of. And speaking of lightheartedness, let's talk about men's business casual, because OCQ really dives into this. And it just feels super relevant with how much work attire has changed.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's not your dad's suit and tie anymore, thankfully.
Thankfully.
The magazine, they're all about this capsule wardrobe approach, like a really nice blazer.
Let's say.
A classic Oxford shirt, some chinos you can dress up or down.
Oh, like that.
The idea is quality over quantity. Create a wardrobe that's timeless, that's sustainable.
No more decision fatigue in the morning. I love it. And it just aligns so well with the whole sustainability movement.
Okay, so we've got our colors, our wardrobes streamlined. Now, how do we make sure our finances are just as sharp?
Right, because finance, that word alone, it can be intimidating.
Yeah, for sure.
But this magazine, they break down the basics of a balance sheet in a way that even I was impressed.
They do a good job of making it approachable.
Yeah, they focus on a few key things like Eigenvermogen.
Okay.
It basically translates to your net worth. So it's like looking at your business or even your personal finances from that angle, understanding your overall financial health.
It's about the bigger picture.
Exactly.
So they give us a foundation, which is great. But then they go a step further.
They do. They walk us through this fictional company's loan application. It's really cool.
How much is the loan for?
€50,000.
Yeah. They break it down, show what lenders actually look for. It's super helpful for anyone who's ever felt lost in that whole world of loans and funding.
Yeah, it can feel like a black hole. So they're kind of handing us a roadmap.
Exactly. And they don't just throw jargon around. They explain the KPIs.
What?
Key performance indicators. Basically, the things lenders look at to size up a business, like the current ratio. It's a really quick way to see if a company can pay its short-term bills. Simple but powerful.
I like it. Simple and powerful.
Okay.
So it's all about getting a clear picture of a business's financial stability, but also its potential for growth.
Precisely. And speaking of financial health checks, have you heard of EBITDA?
EBITDA. I feel like it's one of those terms that everyone throws around, but maybe not everyone fully understands.
It is a bit of a buzzword, I'll admit.
Yeah.
But it's a useful one. It's like taking a quick snapshot of a company's profitability, like how much are they making from their actual operations. It helps you compare different companies, a little more apples to apples.
And they talk about when it's especially useful to understand EBITDA.
They do. Like when you're comparing different companies, it helps you cut through the noise.
Right, because every company's structured a little differently.
Exactly. Or, of course, when you're applying for a loan, lenders want to see those healthy earnings.
And they also mentioned it's important when selling a business, right?
Yes. EBITDA helps figure out the market value so potential buyers get a clearer picture.
So it's like putting on a new pair of glasses and suddenly things are a lot clearer.
Exactly.
Now, OCQ also tackles this upcoming change in Dutch regulations, this whole Scanzelfstandigheid thing.
Ooh, yeah, that's a mouthful.
It is. It's basically about independent contractor status.
And how the Dutch government is cracking down.
Right, because the lines are getting blurry between freelancers and employees.
And it matters even outside the Netherlands because we're seeing more flexible workforces everywhere.
So what's the magazine's take on all this?
They break down the key things to consider, especially if you're deciding to hire a bookkeeper or accountant with these new rules.
Because no one wants to get hit with those fines.
Nobody. Okay, let's switch gears from regulations to retail.
Okay, yeah.
Because the retail landscape is, well,
It's changing constantly.
constantly and fast. But OCQ's take is spot on. It's not about online versus offline anymore. It's about creating a seamless experience, no matter how someone shops.
Which makes sense. I mean, as shoppers, we don't think online time and then physical store time. It all just blends together now.
Right. And they have these compelling examples of retailers who get it. Like this guy, Martien de Vries.
Okay, what's he doing?
He's all about these pop-up experiences. So like physical stores transform.
Based on what?
Could be the season, a local event.
Oh, fun.
For example, one Dutch retailer, during tulip season, they created this whole interactive tulip garden right in their store.
Really?
Yeah, VR tours of the fields, a mobile app with information about tulips. They even pumped in the smell of tulips.
That's incredible. It's experiential, it's educational, it's totally Instagrammable.
Exactly. It's making the store a destination. You go there to connect, to learn.
It's tapping into that desire we all have for like real world experiences.
Yes. And speaking of the digital world, we can't forget about AI.
The elephant in the room.
Or the algorithm in the room, maybe.
Right. And what I found interesting is that OCQ is upfront about how they're using AI in their content creation.
Which honestly I think is great. Transparency is key, especially with AI becoming so, well, everywhere. It builds trust, right?
Totally. But beyond their own use, they sprinkle these really cool AI-related snippets throughout the magazine. Like there's this sleek new electric car they feature, the Eco Vibe Blue Motion.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah.
And that color. Very limpid shell, don't you think?
They're definitely on point with that one.
Right.
But it's not just about the looks.
Not at all. This car is packed with AI features, self-driving, a super advanced energy management system.
It's like a glimpse into the future of driving.
Totally. They also have a listing for De Groot AI show, the big AI show, basically. It's happening in Amsterdam.
Oh, cool.
It's a major AI conference, but it's not just for tech people. They've got Vincent Everett speaking, who's a big deal in Dutch tech.
Right. And Maurice de Haan, who's all about social trends and polling.
Yeah.
That's such an interesting combo, tech and social analysis.
It just shows you how AI is weaving its way into every aspect of our lives.
It's a lot, and we're just scratching the surface here. But that's what I love about this magazine. They give you a curated look at the future. Fashion, finance, AI, it's all there.
It's true, like a cheat sheet for this crazy, ever-changing world we live in.
Exactly.
It really is, you know? It's like they took all these complex things and made them make sense.
Totally. It's actionable.
Yeah.
Which I love. And you know what else? It's how they connected all these different things. The colors, the AI, it all felt linked together.
Right. It's like we were saying before, it's all connected.
Yeah, and it makes you think, how can we use this way of thinking in our own lives? It's not about chasing the next trend. It's about seeing the bigger picture.
Exactly. Be proactive. Speaking of which, they had a fascinating piece about the future of work, this whole Skinzelfstandigheid concept.
I know it's a mouthful, but important.
Yeah.
It's about the difference between freelancers and employees, right? And how those lines are blurring.
Exactly. And it's global. I mean, the rules might be different, but this trend toward a more flexible work style, it's everywhere.
Which changes things for both sides, the people doing the work and the companies.
Absolutely. OCQ does a nice job, though, of pointing out the tricky parts, like taxes, Social Security, all that.
Right, because those are important.
They really stress having clear contracts, making sure everyone's on the same page.
Clarity is key. Avoid those messy situations later on.
For sure. And it's not just about legalities, right? It's about being fair to everyone, building a working relationship that's good for the long haul.
It's about the bigger picture again. Creating a future of work that, well, works. Speaking of the future, what do you think about their AI coverage?
It was good. Really dug into the potential, but didn't shy away from the ethical side either.
Yeah, we touched on how they're using AI for content, and they're open about it.
Which more companies should do that. As AI gets more powerful, we need that transparency.
Totally.
Yeah.
It builds trust, right? If people don't trust how AI is being used, they won't want to use it.
Exactly. And they had a few interviews in there that really emphasized that trust factor.
Oh, like what?
There was one, it was a Dutch tech company. They're developing these AI hiring tools.
Interesting.
And they were talking about how crucial it is to make sure their algorithms aren't biased.
Oh, yeah, because if the data's biased, the results will be too. Garbage in, garbage out.
Right. And they were very honest about how tough it is to get rid of that bias.
It's a process, for sure. It reminds me that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used in different ways.
Oh, 100%.
It's our job to make sure it's used responsibly.
Agreed. And that kind of brings us back to what OCQ is all about, right? Giving people the knowledge to navigate this crazy world.
Being in control.
Yes.
You know, one thing that struck me was how much emphasis they put on sustainability.
Oh, for sure. And it wasn't just like a dedicated section. It was woven throughout.
Like it's not a trend to them, it's just how things should be done.
It was refreshing. And it wasn't preachy either.
It felt possible.
They showcased businesses doing good and still making a profit. It's not one or the other.
It's that triple bottom line. People, planet, profit.
Exactly. And it wasn't just big companies either, which I liked.
What do you mean?
They had stories of smaller businesses, entrepreneurs who are innovating sustainably.
That's what's so cool. It's not just for the big guys.
You don't have to be a huge corporation to make a difference.
You can all do something.
Exactly. Even if it's just within our own lives. It all adds up.
It's about that ripple effect.
I like that.
So this deep dive has been, well, inspiring.
Right.
It really does get you thinking. Like, I feel like I just had a brainstorming session with someone, and now my mind's racing with ideas.
Totally. And it makes you want to keep digging.
That's how you know it's good. They give us so much information, but it's presented so well, it just, I don't know, it makes you think and it motivates you.
Exactly. And they really aren't afraid to ask those big questions like, how do we live sustainably in a world that just wants us to buy?
It's a big one, for sure. And it's something we all had to figure out, not just on our own, but together.
Absolutely. And it's not about knowing all the answers right away, right? It's about staying open to possibilities.
Challenging ourselves, being willing to try. That's what I really like about OCQ. They make you feel like you can explore. They're not dictating, they're inviting you into a discussion.
It's true. It's a conversation, not a lecture.
And that's what we need more of. There's just so much coming at us all the time. Information overload, you know.
I hear that. It's easy to just shut down. But this magazine, it cuts through all that and delivers these really interesting ideas in a way that's, I don't know, just easy to grasp, but also engaging.
Right. It's like that friend we all have, the one who's always on top of the latest and greatest, but they don't just dump it on you. They tell it like a story.
Oh, 100%. Makes you want to hear more.
It's making me think about how important storytelling is for businesses, too.
It's huge. People connect with stories. It's how we make sense of things.
It's not just about stats and numbers. It's about people.
Yes.
And OCQ totally gets that.
They do. They get that behind every single trend, every new gadget. There are people making it happen.
And those people have stories. Stories that, yeah, they might inspire us. Sometimes they might challenge how we think. But ultimately, it's about making things better for everyone.
Well said. Couldn't agree more.
So I think it's about time to wrap up this deep dive. But before we go, I do want to leave everyone with something to think about.
Oh, I like where this is going.
It's not really a cliffhanger, but more of a question to ponder. So we've talked about all these big changes happening in the world. AI, the future of work, how we shop. But what I keep coming back to is, what's our role in all this as individuals?
That's the question, isn't it? It's easy to feel powerless, like we're just along for the ride.
But we're not. Every choice we make matters.
Yeah.
So next time you're making a decision, buying something, even just chatting with a friend, ask yourself, is this the future I want to be a part of?
Powerful stuff. We have more power than we think.
That's right. And that's a good note to end on. So thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the 42nd edition of OCQ Magazine.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
We hope you found it as insightful and as interesting as we did. And we definitely encourage you to check out the magazine for yourselves, dive a little deeper.
Until next time, keep those questions coming and keep shaping your own future.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And as always, thanks for listening.